When Emma first arrived in New York, she felt both excited and nervous. The tall buildings seemed to touch the sky. The streets were crowded with people rushing in every direction. Cars honked at each other, sirens sounded in the distance. The noise never stopped. In her home country, Emma had learned English from books and teachers. She knew many words and rules. She could read stories and write simple essays. She could pass tests at school. But in New York, everything felt different. The English she heard on the streets moved too fast. People spoke with many accents. They used phrases she had never seen in her textbooks. Emma felt lost in a sea of sound. On her first day, she decided to buy food at a small grocery store near her apartment. She picked up a loaf of bread, some eggs, and a carton of milk. At the cashier's counter, the cashier smiled and said something Emma did not understand. The cashier spoke quickly. Emma's heart beat faster. The woman at the counter repeated the words more slowly. "Do you need a bag?" Emma finally caught the question, but she was too shy to answer. She simply nodded her head. The cashier gave her a bag and handed her change. Emma left the store feeling both relieved and embarrassed. She wondered why she could not speak one simple sentence. The next day, Emma took the subway to explore more of the city. She stood on the platform and waited beside other commuters. When the train arrived, she stepped inside and looked for a seat. The train was packed. She held onto a pole and listened to the announcements. The voice on the loudspeaker was too fast. She could not tell which stop was next. A kind stranger leaned close and asked, "Excuse me, do you know if this train goes to Brooklyn?" Emma understood each word, but she did not know how to answer. She shook her head and pointed toward the door she had entered. The stranger smiled and stepped off the train at the next stop. Emma felt a flush of shame. She knew the words, but she could not form them into a reply. That evening, Emma sat in her small apartment and thought about her day. She was sharing the apartment with Lily, another student who spoke some English but still struggled. They both stayed quiet most of the time. Emma thought about the difference between school lessons and real life. In class, teachers talked slowly and used clear examples. In New York, people spoke in full sentences without stopping. They used slang and shortcuts. Emma realized that her problem was more than missing words. She was afraid of making mistakes. She did not want to sound wrong. She wanted to be perfect, but her fear stopped her from speaking at all. Emma remembered something her English teacher had said back home. If you want to speak a language, you must listen to it first. The idea made sense. Babies learn by listening to their parents. They hear sounds over and over until they know what each sound means. Only then do they try to speak. Emma decided to follow the same method. She made a simple plan. First, she would listen carefully to conversations around her. Second, she would write down new phrases and words in a small notebook. Third, she would try to use those phrases in her own speech, even if she felt awkward. The next morning, Emma walked outside with her notebook in hand. Instead of wearing headphones, she chose to listen to the world. She sat on a bench in a park. Nearby, two women spoke in cheerful voices. One said, "I was so tired this morning. I needed my coffee." Emma wrote down the phrase "so tired" because in class she had only learned "very tired." She heard the words again and again until they felt familiar. Later, she stood near a cafe and heard a man say, "I'll catch you later." At first, she thought he was talking about catching something. Then she understood that it meant, "see you later." She added that phrase to her notebook, too. By the end of the day, Emma's notebook was full of real-life phrases and expressions. She felt a new sense of hope. She realized that New York could be her greatest teacher. The city was a living classroom, and every person she passed was a walking lesson. Emma no longer saw her fear as a barrier. Instead, she saw it as a challenge she could overcome. She tucked her notebook into her bag and walked home with her shoulders back. She knew that, step by step, she would learn to speak English naturally. And she knew that the first step was simply to listen. When Emma began using her notebook of real-life phrases, she felt both nervous and excited. She walked into her favorite cafe and saw the barista smile at her. The barista said, "Good morning, what can I get for you?" Emma remembered her plan. She took a deep breath and said, "Can I have tea, please?" The barista asked, "What kind of tea?" Emma's mind went blank. She pointed at the menu and said, "Green tea, please." The barista replied, "Great choice." Emma paid and took her tea, feeling proud that she had spoken, even though it was a small step. At the grocery store the next day, Emma practiced again. The cashier greeted her with, "Hey, how's it going?" Instead of saying, "I am fine, thank you," Emma smiled and said, "I'm good. How about you?" The cashier replied, "Good, thanks." Emma felt a rush of confidence. She realized that using simple, natural phrases made a big difference. She also learned to ask for help when she did not understand. When the sandwich shop cashier asked, "White or wheat?" Emma paused and then said, "Could you repeat that, please?" The cashier slowed down and said, "Do you want white bread or wheat bread?" Emma answered, "Wheat, please," and felt happy to get her order right. To keep improving, Emma set 2 daily tasks. First, she shadowed short audio clips from her language app. She listened to a sentence and then repeated it out loud, trying to match the speaker's rhythm and tone. Second, she did role play with Lily. They pretended to be customers and cashiers or subway passengers and strangers. They used real phrases from Emma's notebook. After each practice, they took turns giving each other friendly corrections. Sometimes they laughed at silly mistakes, and this laughter made learning feel fun instead of scary. After a few days, Emma decided to join a student meetup at the library. She felt butterflies in her stomach as she walked into the room full of people. A woman named Sarah greeted her with, "Hi, welcome. I'm Sarah. What's your name?" Emma said, "I'm Emma from Italy." Sarah introduced her to 2 students, Jake and Maria. Jake asked, "First time here?" Emma nodded and said, "Yes, it is." As the conversation moved on, Emma listened more than she spoke. She noticed how people used simple words and friendly smiles to keep talking, even if mistakes happened. Seeing this, she remembered to focus on meaning rather than perfect grammar. Later that week, Emma was invited to a game night where they played a word game called Taboo. In this game, players give clues without using certain words. Emma felt scared at first because she had to think quickly in English. When it was her turn, she picked the word ocean. She said, "It is big water with fish. It is salty." One player guessed, "Ocean," and everyone cheered. Emma laughed and realized she had successfully made English work for her. She did not worry about the exact grammar. She simply shared her ideas and connected with others. By the end of the week, Emma noticed change. She used phrases like, "So tired," "I'll catch you later," and "How's it going?" without thinking. She asked for clarification when needed, and she answered questions with confidence. She continued shadowing, role-playing, and joining events. Each practice built her courage and made her English feel natural. Emma understood that listening to real conversations and then speaking, even with mistakes, was the path to true confidence. Slowly but surely, she was becoming the person who could talk and laugh in English, just like a local in New York. Emma began to notice small changes in her English every morning. One day she woke up and thought, I need 5 more minutes, without translating from her native language. The words came straight to her mind in English. She sat up, made coffee, and planned her day, all in English. This surprised her and gave her confidence. She understood that her brain was starting to work in English rather than translating from her first language. At home, Emma decided to watch television shows without subtitles. At first, she missed many words and felt confused, but she kept watching. After a few episodes, she found she understood most of the dialogue. She could follow simple jokes and react naturally. Her roommate, Lily, noticed and asked, How can you understand so much? Emma smiled and said, I just let the words flow. I focus on the meaning, not each word. This practice helped her listening skills and built her trust in her own understanding. In her English class, Emma's teacher asked, Who would like to share something interesting? Before, Emma would stay silent. Now she raised her hand. She spoke clearly. I learned that mistakes help us grow. Every time I speak, I learn. Her classmates clapped and her teacher said, That is very true. Emma felt proud. She realized that sharing in class was another way to master English. She was no longer afraid to speak in front of others. Outside class, Emma found joy in helping others. One afternoon, she was walking when a student approached her. The student said, Excuse me, do you know where the library is? Emma smiled and gave simple directions. Go straight on this road, then turn right at the corner. You will see the library next to the coffee shop. The student thanked her and walked away. At that moment, Emma felt she had come full circle. She was no longer the person who needed help. She was the one who could help. Emma also created a small conversation club with her friends. Every week, they met in a quiet cafe. They took turns speaking about their days in English. They played word games and asked each other questions. When someone made a mistake, the others helped gently. This friendly space allowed Emma to practice freely. She found that the more she spoke, the more natural her English became. She did not worry about being perfect. She focused on communication. One evening, Emma went to the same cafe where she first struggled to order tea. She walked up to the counter and said without hesitation, Hey, good evening. May I have a medium latte with oat milk, please? The barista smiled and replied, Of course. That will be $5. Emma handed over the money and took her drink. She felt a simple moment of joy. Ordering in English felt as easy as breathing. Over time, Emma's thoughts, dreams, and conversations flowed in English. She thought about her family in English when she called them. She dreamed in English and woke up speaking English words. This was proof that she had reached a new level. English was no longer a school subject. It was a part of her daily life. Reflecting on her journey, Emma realized that true mastery came from living the language, listening to real speech, practicing small talks, watching shows, speaking in class, helping others, and creating safe practice spaces all contributed to her success. She learned that perfection was not the goal. Communication was. Mistakes were opportunities to learn. Confidence was built step by step. Now, New York felt like home. Emma could walk the streets, talk to strangers, laugh with friends, and think in English at any moment. She had moved from shy silence to natural speech. Her journey showed her that anyone could learn a language by living it every day. All it took was a little courage, plenty of listening, and the willingness to speak. Emma's journey in New York teaches us that learning a language is not just about textbooks or tests. It is about living the language every day, listening to real people, and speaking even when we feel afraid. Emma began as a shy student who knew grammar and vocabulary but could not join a simple conversation. She felt lost among fast speakers and different accents. Step by step, she chose to listen first, note down useful phrases, and then use them in small talks at grocery stores and cafes. She practiced shadowing, short clips, and role-playing with her roommate Lily. She joined student meetups, played word games, and slowly built her confidence. In time, Emma found herself thinking and even dreaming in English. She could share ideas in class, help strangers with directions, and laugh freely with friends. By facing her fear of mistakes, Emma moved from silence to natural speech. The deep lesson from Emma's story is that mistakes are not failures. They are stepping stones. Every time we try and stumble, we learn something new. Listening and speaking in real situations trains our brain to think in the new language. Confidence grows with each small success. We do not need perfect grammar to connect with people. We need courage to speak and heart to listen. You can apply this lesson in your own life. Choose one small goal each day. Order a drink, ask a question, or share a sentence in English. Carry a tiny notebook or use your phone to write down new words or phrases you hear. Review them and try them out the next day. Join a language exchange or a casual meetup. Practice with friends or classmates. Allow yourself to make mistakes and smile when you do. Celebrate every small step. Each one brings you closer to thinking in English. Congratulations! You have just improved your English listening and understanding by following Emma's story. You listened to the whole journey, learned new phrases, and saw how to practice them. Now, let's have a little fun. What did Emma do first when she felt lost in New York? A. She tried to memorize more grammar rules. B. She started listening to real conversations and wrote down new phrases. Please comment A or B below to let us know your answer. If you enjoyed this lesson, please subscribe to our channel. Your support gives us the motivation to create more helpful content. If you'd like to help us cover the costs of making these free lessons, consider making a small donation. Every contribution helps us continue this work and bring more quality English practice to you. Thank you.